We belong to the AGC because we believe it's essential that pretty much any industry have a healthy association that represents the industry as a whole. And the members, the companies that rely on that industry. I was first introduced to what trade associations meant when I was growing up, because my father was very active in NECA, so the National Electrical Contractors Association. And I saw through him, sitting around the dinner table, going to conventions and seeing the impact that it had, the influence that it had, and how the member companies benefited from that. In his days, he was a union contractor, and we had collective bargaining agreements just like we have at the AGC. So I was introduced to that, at a young age growing up, and I had a pretty good idea of what the AGC meant to general contractors and the construction industry as a whole when I first started my career. And so it was a pretty easy sell. They were very instrumental, have been very instrumental, in multiple respects, from the labor force, labor negotiations, basically leading collective bargaining groups through contract negotiations, which sometimes are not easy. They seems to be more divisive than they are today. I think that labor and management have done a much better job of figuring out how to get along and protect each other's interests, as opposed to it being us versus them. They have been a great resource for training, superintendent training, safety training. Obviously, they do a lot to protect our interests with any activity in legislation, whether it be local, county, state, national, which is very important. And we could not accomplish what is accomplished by the AGC by going out and trying to do that as individual member companies. There's just no way that could happen. There would be the haves and the have-nots, right? The mega contractors would have all the influence, and the smaller ones would have very little influence. So, it's also, there are a lot of growth opportunities, through seminars and it's not all industry related. Some of it's personal related, how to do things that improve our life outside of work is also something that you can get. If you go to one of the conventions, there's a whole range of seminars that you could attend. And then there's the social aspect of it, which is, I think is important. It's, healthy competition is good. And, when I mentioned the individuals that I went through the chairs with, I consider all of them good friends of mine, even though, we were chasing most of the time the same work. And it didn't feel that good when somebody else won the project and we didn't. And I'm sure that was vice versa. That said, there's been something very special and enriching about those friendships, those relationships. And I think that in itself helps the AGC be more effective for its member companies. We are the AGC.